Skyscraper collapse in Bangkok after earthquake. A mushroom cloud of dust and debris swept through the streets of northern Bangkok on Friday as panicked residents ran for their lives after an under-construction skyscraper came crashing down following a powerful earthquake. 81 people were trapped in the rubble of the 30-story structure and 3 were confirmed dead, Deputy Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai said on Friday afternoon. The construction site of a new 30-story government building quickly turned into a disaster scene, with people jumping into cars to escape or shrieking as they fled on foot. Workers in hard hats and orange safety vests were engulfed by dust as the concrete structure fell, with dozens unable to escape, now trapped beneath the debris. Rescuers at the scene appeared tiny next to a mountain of rubble and twisted metal beams, just meters from the busy Chatuchak Market. A report indicated that around 400 workers, both Thai and foreign, were present on the site. The injured were being transported to nearby hospitals in Bangkok. The building, located on an 11-rai plot on Kamphaeng Phet Road, was being constructed for the Office of the Auditor General, according to Deputy Auditor General Suttapong Bonathi, who was on site. Work on the 2.1 billion baht structure began in 2020 and had reached 30% completion, with construction having reached the top floor. The main contractor is ITDCREC, a joint venture between Italian Thai Development plc and China Railway No. 1, Thailand. Inspections were overseen by a joint venture comprising PN Synchronize, W and Associates Group, and KP Consultants in Management, Mr. Suttapong said. Thai PM calls for calm amid aftershock warnings. Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra urged the public to remain calm as officials warn of possible aftershocks following the Myanmar earthquake that rattled several regions of Thailand, including Bangkok, on Friday. Speaking after an emergency meeting in Phuket, where she had been attending a tourism conference, Ms. Paetongtarn urged people to follow only official updates from relevant agencies to avoid misinformation and panic. She added that the state-owned broadcaster NBT has been designated as the official source for verified updates. Ms. Paetongtarn returned to Bangkok on Friday to monitor and oversee the government's response to the quake. Damage assessments were still ongoing, but the most significant loss reported so far is the collapse of the 30-story building under construction for the Office of the Auditor General. Dozens of workers are believed to be trapped in the debris. Reports of damage to buildings and homes in at least 8 provinces, mostly in the north, have also been received. The 7.7 magnitude quake struck Mandalay, Myanmar, at 1:20 p.m. It was followed by at least 6 aftershocks, including a 3.3 magnitude quake in Pai District, Mae Hong Son Province, at 2:49 p.m. According to the Meteorological Department, the epicenter was 326 kilometers northwest of Phang Ma Pha District and about 1,100 kilometers from Bangkok. There is no tsunami risk, officials said, as the quake occurred far from the sea. However, Phuket Governor Sophan Suvannarat instructed officials to closely monitor the situation to ease concerns among residents and tourists. Chaos and casualties at Myanmar hospital after quake. Rows of wounded line the outside of the emergency department at the 1,000-bed hospital in Myanmar's capital Nay Pai Ta on Friday. Some were writhing in pain, others in a state of shock after the powerful earthquake. Casualties kept arriving, some in cars, others in pickup trucks, and many carried on stretchers, their bodies bloodied and covered in dust. This is a mass casualty zone, said a hospital official, asking journalists to step away from the emergency area. The hospital itself was struck by the quake, with roads buckled and tarmac torn apart as the ground shook violently for nearly 30 seconds. The emergency department sustained heavy damage, and a car was crushed under the concrete of the collapsed entrance. Many injured people have been arriving. "I've never seen anything like this," a doctor at the hospital told AFP. "We're trying to manage the situation. I'm exhausted." Some victims cried in pain, others lay still as family members tried to comfort them, for drips hanging from their arms. Hundreds of injured are coming in, but the emergency building here has also collapsed, security officials said. Others sat dazed, heads and hands, faces and limbs covered in blood. Myanmar's military chief, Min Aung Hlaing, visited the hospital, observing the wounded laid out on stretchers. Tremors felt across the region, help me cries in Bangkok. Mae Hong Son is located about 250 kilometers south of the epicenter of the 7.7 magnitude shallow quake, which hit northwest of Sagaing City on Friday afternoon, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. A 6.4 magnitude aftershock struck the same region minutes later. AFP journalists at the National Museum in Mae Hong Son reported that ceiling chunks fell and cracks split the walls during the quake. Traffic around one of the capital's largest hospitals was jammed with ambulances trying to pass through. Paramedics shouted to be let through so doctors could begin treatment. People fled buildings in panic, some crying, others trying to call loved ones to check they were alive. The powerful tremors were felt as far away as Thailand and China. In Bangkok, buildings swayed violently. Police Lieutenant Colonel Wurapat Sukthai, Deputy Police Chief of Bangkok's Bang Su District, said he heard people trapped in rubble crying out for help after the 30-story under-construction tower collapsed. I heard voices calling help me, he told AFP. We estimate hundreds are injured, but we're still determining the casualty count. I fear many lives have been lost. We've never experienced such a devastating earthquake before. While Bangkok residents are familiar with light tremors, many said the intensity of Friday's quake was unlike anything they'd felt before. I was shopping inside a mall when I noticed some signs moving, so I quickly ran outside, said broker Adapong Sukhim Noi. I knew I had to find open space, it was instinct.